Okay, we are ready, set, go. It is February the 9th, 2020. It is about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, a little bit later than I anticipated. I'm going to tag a few people in here and say thank you for joining me. Get a few things in here. Hold on. Just give me a second. All right. Now I'm going to tell you, Facebook decides who pops up here in my feed. So I really just tag the first 20 people or so that appear on the top. I've let a few people know in advance, specifically what is going on. So honestly, if you get tagged, and I don't know why Facebook decides who they're going to put in my feed for tagging, but they do. So if you would just share this to a few other people, I would appreciate it so we can get a few people on. I'm going to tell you kind of what's going on, give you an update, and then sort of let you know why I've been not really able to do too many lives lately. Okay, I'm just going to do that many. Got to get this down. Very good. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to tell you that I have had a whole house full of sick people over the past almost 2 months. Really started in about mid-December. I have 6 people in my household, ranging from age 6 to my age, and I'm not going to give you that. Most of you probably already know that anyway. But it's like we got a winter sickness and just kept passing it around. I'm still having issues and still coughing and taking medicine and taking so much Delsum and Claritin and everything to try to dry my head up. But if I just go into a coughing fit here during this video, you'll know why, and excuse me. But I'm going to give it a shot. So as we are here in 2020, the first thing I do want to say is I have had some people really reach out to me that they've gotten into a period where they're just really depressed and they're really forlorn about where we are and what's going on, and feeling like nothing is happening. The State of the Union, nothing really seemed to happen, and so people just seem to get depressed because President Trump didn't talk specifically about child welfare. But I'm going to tell you a lot of things are happening. We keep plugging along, and I've been at this a long time. I wish I had a magic wand. I wish I could make things go much better. Oops, sorry about that. Hang on here. I messed up my little thing here. I was just trying to get the lighting a little better. So in your individual daily lives, I know how hard it is to either be struggling with the system, fighting against a system, seeing the abuses of the system, feeling like nobody's listening to you. And it's really, everybody has to find their own way to kind of bring, thank you, Jasmine, to bring their way through this. It's so hard. I know it's hard. I've worked with lots of families over the years, and, through Family Forward Project, we've seen lots of issues. And so we've lost families, mothers have committed suicide. So, this is just a little bit of a pep talk to say, hang in there and keep going. I will also tell you that the stalkers are in full force. So there are certain things that are going on that I just cannot post and I could not tell you about because they're too, I don't want them sabotaged, and I don't want the stalkers to minimize them or you try to interfere with them. There are we're planning another trip to DC, and if any of those, some people might think about trying to come with us in DC at some point, but there's going to be another trip to DC. We're sort of between legislation right now. So we had the Families First Preservation and Services Act pass, of course, in February 2018, and very, very few states have passed it or implemented it. Most of it stagnated in most of the states. And also then in December 2020, on December 20th, 2020, President Trump signed the Families First Transition Support Act, which was to put more money into it. So, but still, yes, I do need help and advocates in Illinois, and I'm going to talk about state-specific help here in just a second as well. Yes, in Michigan, absolutely. So I know on the federal level, we're kind of between legislation. I will tell you that through our grassroots lobbying, we have personally identified who a couple policymakers are and tried to develop relationships with them. I'm not going to broadcast their names because I don't want them being hunted or stalked, but we do have that information, and we've had personal meetings with them. So there's a couple things going on that, like I said, I cannot say. As you know, that President Trump did sign an executive order to fight human trafficking. As far as I'm concerned, the 500,000 children that are in foster care all the time are human trafficked, and they are being put there by the government, often for bad reasons or insufficient reasons. And so we are going to keep fighting and pursuing that. I do need to let you know. Hold on one second. I have a little bit of household disturbance. Hang on. Sorry, back. Okay, the fact that I have a house full of grandkids right now and I can find 20 minutes to talk in peace and quiet is a miracle, but I sort of gave them the what for and told them they better be quiet. So I've trapped them all in the room over there. And that may not be totally successful while we're trying to talk. Okay, so I've got some important things to say though, so I'm just going to keep on keeping on here. All right, so I made myself a little list here, so we're going to go through it. Number one, those of you who are new, who've not been around with us for 5 years, once in a while I'll see somebody say, I'm going to start a nonprofit. I'm going to organize estates. I'm going to, do this. I'm like, oh my gosh, please do not draw anybody away from the Family Forward Project in the Family Forward Project. So Family Forward Foundation is already a 501c3 foundation. It is already a nonprofit. Through Family Forward Project, I've set up several state-specific groups, okay, you can look up your group and see if it's out there. I don't have them all done because it's very time-consuming to do, but I have about 14 of the states set up. So I have Family Forward Tennessee, Family Forward California, Family Forward, I think Alabama. So just look, and the purpose of those is so that as a state, you can start identifying people within the state so that you can get organized or provide support. So we have that. Now, I've talked about this before. Yes, Darlene, you do need an advocate team. I've talked about this before. There are different roles. You need to kind of identify what are your strengths and what role that you can play. So you might find that your role is in advocacy. You might find that your role is in lobbying. You might find that your role is in organization. You might find that your role is just in collecting data and just kind of collecting information. Great, Joy. I would love to have advocates in every single state. Yes, Michigan too. So I want you to, you need to be a little bit prayerful and ask, what are your really true spiritual gifts? Okay, I know my true spiritual gifts are encouragement and advocacy. So, that is, yes, thanks, Patty. There is an Arkansas group. So I know that is what I can give. And of course, I organize things. I work on things from a legal standpoint as well. But I want you to really think about where would I really be the best? Because I'm going to tell you, I know and I understand not everybody in Family Forward can be a lobbyist, okay? Not everybody can organize a 3 to 5 minute speech and take that 3 to 5 minute speech to a different level. So I want you to think about, what is my talent? What can I do? If you have access to a computer and you understand Word and you understand Excel, maybe the best thing for you is going to be help to collect data. All right. So think about that. We already have a nonprofit though. So please don't start trying to draw people away from the Family Forward Project into other nonprofits. Now, I want to give you a little bit of an update on the whole criminal case against myself and Miss Hancock, Wendy Hancock. So I'm sorry. I've got a little creature over here crawling around. Excuse me, sir. Now. That's how you do grandma speak for get your booty in the other room. Okay, there you go. That is a slamming door. All right, so those of you who've been with us for a while know that myself and Miss Hancock got arrested criminally back last summer. I had been representing Miss Hancock since, actually for years, but she'd been harassed several times. In 2018 is when they came after her. They refused to return my phone calls, refused to work with us, and went behind our back. Those who didn't kind of keep up on it, we have lots of videos posted, but basically the DCS caseworker went to another county and got an ex parte order in another county so that I wouldn't know about it before she even filed it. So we ended up, we got the kids back. The DCS dismissed the case after a year-long battle, lots of grief, but anyway, they dismissed it. After it all got dismissed, after the kids were returned, and after I told them I was going to go to federal court, they filed a criminal lawsuit against myself and Ms. Hancock, and I've got the indictments right here. They did sealed indictments, secret indictments. They did not take warrants, which mean, again, they went behind our back to the grand jury with information, and I've got a copy of those right here, you can see. So they've charged Ms. Hancock with custodial interference, and then they charged me with facilitation, okay, of a felony. Facilitation of a felony. I'm her attorney, okay? So this is what it says. Now, for those of you who understand or have any understanding or dealt with the criminal justice system at any level, you know that in the criminal justice system, the DA has to prove every element of the crime. So what is written in the statute is critically important and has to be followed, what's in the statute. So here's what they say. They say that the defendant, and they give a date, it says that she did detain said child within the state with the intent to violate a temporary or permanent judgment or a court order granting custody of care of the child. And they say that's a Class C felony. Okay, so here is, this may be backwards to y'all. I know it's weird when I do it on live, but it is TCA 39-13-306. And it says under there, under the detain the child, it's got number 2 is detain the child within the state or remove the child from the state after an expiration of the non-custodial, natural, or adoptive parent or guardian's lawful period of visitation, okay, with the intent to violate a custody order. So this custodial interference here, this statute was really intended to be sort of a remedial thing between parents when parents wouldn't comply with custody and visitation orders. And now the state has taken it on and decided that they are going to use this to prosecute parents against the state. Now, for those of you who've had any type of criminal involvement, you know that the state has to prove every element. So an element of custodial interference under detaining the child is that it is after the expiration of a lawful period of visitation. Okay, so that's not true. Now, I've read some cases and it talks about this statute, and it says that the legislature intended every word it wrote on this. So therefore, they cannot show that it was in violation of a visitation order. So it's pretty distressing that they misrepresented that to the grand jury, and that they didn't tell the grand jury that it was not a visitation order. So they've chopped up the statute and are trying to proceed on part of the statute and not the whole statute. And what's interesting, so with the state of Tennessee, we received our discovery. We found out they did search warrants on my phone, on my Facebook, on my client's phone, on her daughter's phone. They say several times in there that they received an emergency ping order. They did not provide us a ping order. Some of the forms that they use in there, that I'm going to have to white out some of the critical information and show you some of these forms that they can use, but they're pretty disgusting. You can barely read some of them. And the DCS caseworker that got the illegal ex parte order is the one who filed the missing child report to TBI, just so you know. So buried deep in our discovery, though, I found this memorandum, August the 30th, 2018. And this memorandum is to Doug Diamond and Sophia Crawford from Tracy Hetzel. And look at what it says there. seeking criminal charges against Connie Reguli. Okay? So on August the 30th, Miss Tracy Hetzel, attorney for DCS, and she brags about being a DCS attorney for 10 years, writes this extensive memorandum here. Okay, well, now let me tell you what she didn't talk about in there. So first of all, she admits in there that before they filed their petition, that I contacted them and let them know I'd have a meeting. DCS's very own policy says that if they believe they need to do a removal or there's a risk of harm, that they should try to set up a meeting with the parents to address those concerns before they remove a child. That's your very own policy, Doug Diamond, Sophia Crawford, Tracy Hetzel, Dee Dee Miller. That's your policy, which is exactly what I did. I made a phone call to Dee Dee Miller. I made a phone call to her supervisor and even made a phone call to regional to try to set up a meeting to address all the safety concerns before they did an ex parte removal. But no, they didn't want to talk to me. And then they go, and she says in here, she even admits in here, she even admits that I asked for the meeting. All right, then over here, she says in this one paragraph, DCS filed a petition for custody and ex parte order for custody on Monday, August the 13th of 2018 at 3:43. So what she fails to put in her memorandum to Doug Diamond and Sophia Crawford, and Sophia Crawford, by the way, was a judge, a Davidson County juvenile court judge. And what she fails to put in here is that she did not get the DeKalb County judge to sign an ex parte order. She went to another county before she even filed the petition, because she went to Smith County and had Michael Collins sign an ex parte order before she even filed it with the court in DeKalb County. And Dee Dee Miller did that. She trotted off to another county to get another judge to sign it and then brought it back, which is part of the problem from the very beginning. And then she admits in here a preliminary hearing was set for Tuesday the 14th. Now, I would think that it would trigger to them that if you set a preliminary hearing and you knew a parent had an attorney, why you would not call that attorney and say, we have court in the morning, or call the client. Call the attorney. Say we have court in the morning. Nope. Not even the courtesy of a phone call. Now, again, Sophia Crawford was a judge for Davidson County. She knows and should know about the policy. She actually worked for DCS, I believe, before she was a judge. So Tracy Hetzel did not disclose all the facts to Doug Diamond and Sophia Crawford, right? She did not disclose all the facts to that. And then she, at the end of this, she's got some of the things that my phone calls that she typed up. And then at the end here, she says specifically, very specifically, hang on, got to get to the last page. Right there, you see that? She says, I am asking that we approach the Williamson County District Attorney about pursuing criminal charges. Okay, so Tracy Hetzel, who did not fully disclose to her own boss and her own supervisors all of the facts of the case, did not even, and even after they had that, did not acknowledge that they violated their own policy, is asking the Department of Children's Services to seek criminal charges against the parent council. Okay? Yeah, they are not criminal prosecutors, right? So, and then of course I know that she went to the Brentwood Police Department and filed a report, right? It also has in our discovery the letters that I wrote to the Brentwood Police Chief, basically saying that these are bogus, this is bogus, and you need to really stop this right now. But of course they ignored that. So that's our update on that. While we were there, also the child, well, I'm just going to say that there's big problems with this. We're filing a motion to dismiss the indictment. This is not going to be good. I mean, they're going to have to really twist the law upside down and backwards, and I don't know if this judge is going to do it, what he's going to do. I found out this is the judge that signed a ex parte search warrant after I'd already been served with the indictment. He signed another search warrant to search my phone. That's very troubling. Okay. So that's that update. All right, so a couple things I did post. I kind of created it as an event. Of course, I don't expect a lot of people to travel to St. Paul, Minnesota. I'm not going to St. Paul, Minnesota. But Bell County, Texas, retired, replacement with 2 judges. Oh my gosh, yeah, Joy, I understand that. They violate their own policies on a regular basis. Yep, I understand that too. Okay, so I created an event I was talking about in Minnesota. This is the 8th Circuit. I've shown in one of my videos before, and I have a big map up in my office. It's all color-coded that shows all the different federal circuits. So the 8th Circuit includes Arkansas, and I know we have a lot going on in Arkansas. I think it's Arkansas and Oklahoma. You can look up the map. I'll try to do another posting on that. I'm in the 6th Circuit, Tennessee, Kentucky, Ohio, and Michigan. The 7th Circuit is Indiana, Illinois, and then probably Wisconsin. I'm not real sure. I keep forgetting those. I just always focus on my 6th Circuit. But the 8th Circuit is where Arkansas is for sure, and I know that Joe Churchwell has had some things that he's taken to the 8th Circuit. And Dwight Mitchell out of Minnesota filed a civil rights action against his social service agency, and he's discussed it several times, and he's got some videos posted on YouTube if you want to learn more specifically about it. When I was looking at it, the one thing that I did notice is that they are also trying to do a class action, and it looks like the court did not certify the class. So I'm not exactly sure whether he's appealing the dismissal of his individual lawsuit or the failure to certify the class. So I know I'm going to be watching that, and hopefully at some point I can talk to that attorney. In the meantime, so in March, I have a conference that I'm going to in Chicago. And Michelle, an attorney up in Massachusetts, is going to meet up with me there. And maybe we can do a live together while we're up there. But it is doctors and lawyers, and they're going to be talking about the child abuse diagnoses and from a responsible perspective. It's limited to, I think, 100. I think they're only going to allow 100 doctors and lawyers to be there. I really hope that we can get some redirection with the child abuse pediatricians and the damage that they're doing to families. Because, I've got another new case where more damage has been done by a child abuse pediatrician. Yeah, Evelyn, I understand. I continue to have new cases come in the Tennessee area. Some of them just come in just to do a consult, give me an idea of what's going on with their cases. I am an attorney in private practice. I've stated that several times on the Family Forward Project. So, I have to be retained by contract and work, based on my years of practice and the work I do. I'm a very, very hardworking, diligent attorney. So honestly, not everybody can afford to pay for a private attorney in their cases. But sometimes I just consult with them to give them some ideas of things to ask for. I have learned through this recently that DCS is housing children in the Knoxville DCS office, which is basically like a warehouse looking place. Very, very disturbed about that. And I passed that around. I posted that and passed that around to several people. Hey, Michelle. Hey, Lori. So that's very disturbing. It's very disturbing about autistic children being placed in the homes where there's multiple other children, and those autistic children getting injuries. I have another medical kidnap case where basically the parents went into the hospital and were immediately treated as perpetrators, even to the extent where the baby was not properly treated for the condition while they were there. They focused more on the parents and trying to identify the parents as perpetrators other than actually trying to see what was really wrong with the baby. I've got another mom who's desperate. She's got a teen that she adopted out of foster care, and we've tried to reach back out to DCS, and we've just gotten nowhere with them. And we've been working desperately on that for a couple months. So, it's this constant frustration of a very, very, very broken system. It is a system that is no good. It is broken until they want to start listening. These bureaucrats think they know better. They think they got the answers, and they don't. All right, so finally, I've got my computer here. I'm going to talk about a couple things that I have posted recently and uploaded. When I do upload a document, please try to just take a quick look at it. It may or may not be something that's helpful to you right at the moment. But I did upload a document on, so the ACF is the Administration for Children and Families. That is a unit of the United States Department of Health and Human Services. So the HHS, it's called Health and Human Services, is the federal department that is in control of all that money that's going to the states. And in case you haven't heard those numbers, yes, it does forever change a family, Wendy. And I know the damage it's done to some young girls, very bad damage. So anyway, HHS, I've talked to you about the money before. In round figures, Title 4E is $9 billion. And that $9 billion is then sent to the states. The states provide matching money, and that is foster care money. So you've basically got an $18 billion foster care system that houses about 500,000 children at any given moment in the United States. Many of those children, well, we know that about 80% of those children are placed there because of what's called neglect, not because of psychological abuse, sexual abuse, or physical abuse. That is neglect. About half of the children are there because of some type of substance abuse issues. Now, I'm going to say that substance abuse issues with DCS is sometimes like, somebody smoked pot 2 years ago. So, or a mom who maybe took a couple Percocets or something that was not prescribed to her during her pregnancy. So they are very broad on their definition of substance abuse. Now, admittedly, we have a lot of issues with the opioid crisis, the heroin, the fentanyl. It's horrible. And I've also said many times, I am not an addiction specialist. I know that it's rampant, and it's rampant among teens, and we really do not have good resources to deal with our teens who are suffering from addiction and all the things that go with it. So addiction is a huge problem. Hopefully, we can continue to find resources somewhere along the line. Now, under what I was talking about, though, this is very, very important. This is a statement that was issued on February the 5th, 2020. I have uploaded this in files, okay? Now, this document is 18 pages long. However, I will tell you that the last, a few pages here. No, actually, this is a pretty solid document here. Wow. The resources are not that long. The resources are only a couple pages. So you've got an 18-page document here that talks about family visitation. And this is really critical because it's beginning to acknowledge here at a federal level how much damage is done. And it says right here, recommendations for caseworkers: be mindful that removal, even when necessary and for short time periods, is traumatic to both children and their parents. I mean, that's a statement from the federal government, okay? That's their position statement. It says, take all steps necessary to assure the parents that family time will be a top priority before removal. Arrange family time as soon as possible after removal. Arranging contact within 24 hours or less of the initial removal unless there is a clear and present safety threat to the child. Speak with the parents as clearly as possible to identify family members, friends, or other trusted adults the parents may know that can help, where supervised visitation may be necessary. Ensure family time is a central part of every case plan. Remain aware that the frequent family time can help reduce trauma, both parents and children, and can help the family move towards permanency sooner. Understand that where and how visits occur affect the quality family time, and that agencies should arrange for visits to occur in natural and unsupervised environments absent identified immediate danger of harm to the child. Reinforce the importance of all families, families of origin, resource families, calling the child by the same name, allowing the same care practices like eating and toilet learning, and speaking without judgment or criticism about each other during family time throughout the child's time in care. Provide continuity in transportation for visits with the parents. That is, transportation should be done by the same staff in the same vehicle as much as possible, as routine helps reduce stress. Think of family time broadly as involving the parent as much as possible in day-to-day child rearing activities that allow for parental participation in normal daily experiences of their children's lives. That is school activities, doctor's appointments, recreational activities, and assistance with schoolwork in the resource home. In other words, this is, all right, here I'm going to read the conclusion. The conclusion: research is clear that frequent quality time is a vital component of expedited reunification and positive well-being outcomes for children and families. We strongly encourage that child welfare agencies, CIPs, judges, attorneys, and other stakeholders to review the research, the best practices, funding sources, and recommendations related to providing family time, and work together to ensure that frequent quality family time is provided to all parents, children, and youth consistent with child safety. We further urge all jurisdiction never to use the family time as a reward or punishment, as such practices are inconsistent with federal law and harmful to the well-being of children and parents. Wow. We can still recover from addiction even with resources. And I'm going to go back and read this. Hang on here. Continue to be awesome parents and family. I agree. And I'm going to say, and I said, I'm not an addiction specialist. I know that there is recovery. I absolutely know that. I am not judgmental about it. It's just something I don't understand. I haven't studied it. I have looked at just some general studies that talk about the mental health issues that go with addiction, which is, it's the generational damage that's occurred that, sometimes it comes along with abuse as a child, family dysfunction, separation, not having self-esteem. There's a variety of things that come with it, but I'm so uneducated on it, and I don't have the time to be really educated on that aspect, that I hesitate speaking about it, because I know people who have struggled with it. And a few times I've made a few statements, and I made a statement before in Family Forward where I basically said you use, you choose, you lose, meaning that if you use drugs, you're choosing drugs and you're going to lose your kids. And I posted that after with some cases where I could not get the parents to recover, and and I tried to stay with them. I am not a personal addiction therapist, so I cannot be with them day to day, but I just know that it's a little bit beyond what I can give advice on or what I can make recommendations on. So I'm just not an addiction specialist, and I really pray for people who have addiction and recovery issues that they can find the strength. Now, as far as just support and encouragement, and that's the last thing I'm going to talk about here before I get off the phone. So I've talked about, and I've actually put up in Family Forward Project discussions about about advocacy, acting as a parent advocate and a peer advocate. And so I'm going to go over this with you real quickly, because I've gone over the time period that I like to go, and I like to upload these to YouTube. And if I make them too long, YouTube gives me a lot of problems and a lot of grief. So let's talk about the family advocacy guidelines here just real quickly. I'm going to buzz through them really fast. Now I'm going to say this document is already uploaded in our files as the advocacy guidelines. Please look at them. I'm trying to get a few people connected for advocacy purposes so that parents can have some support other than just trying to depend upon their lawyers all the time and the CPS agents that we know is a problem. Okay, boundaries. Number one important thing is, as an advocate, you have to understand that there are boundaries. If you're going to be a parent advocate, you are not a source of financial support, and you are not a source of legal support to a parent. So do not give financial information, do not give financial aid, do not give legal advice, okay? Do not exchange money. Don't invite a parent to your personal home unless you've established what the boundaries are and what the purpose is. I'd prefer that you keep your own home, your own boundaries. If you are to go to that parent's home, it would be probably to help them document like the condition of their home, etc. So I want you to make sure you keep boundaries. If you're meeting with the parent, it should probably be in some neutral area, like, heck, a Starbucks. We can all go to Starbucks now and have a cup of coffee. An advocate is not an attorney or a mental health professional. In the event a mental health emergency arises, you must have a mental health professional professional involved. They are not a legal person. A legal question can be discussed. It can be outlined. It can be, the advocate may say, well, I had this situation before. I'm not going to give you legal advice, but I'm going to tell you, here's some information that you want to be able to take to your attorney. An advocate is not a substance abuse specialist. In the event there's some addictive behaviors that is just really beyond just the common, just encouragement, then it needs to go through a professional. This is also very important. The relationship. Thank you, Wendy. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. The relationship between the advocate and the parent is a confidential relationship. Okay. You should not share that information unless it's agreed upon by both parties. You can share it with counsel if the parent agrees. You can share it with Family Forward if the parent agrees. Okay. For instance, the parent may want the advocate help them create a timeline and may want to share it with us in case we're looking at some type of civil rights issue. So just be careful about having boundaries and keeping that relationship confidential. Number 2, it is to support, it is to encourage, and it is to help people become accountable. The biggest factors for helping parents along the way is support and encouragement and keeping them focused during the absence of their children. Accountability is just to help them track their progress, track what's going on in court, their classes, evaluations, etc. Help parents prepare for visitation emotionally. Right now the status is basically 4 hours a month, which is horrible. And so you've got to help them in that preparation and to stay positive about it and not to get too flooded with emotions as they work through that with their children. Maybe helping parents write letters to their children. If they're letters that are going to be exchanged at visitation, they should be kept very simple. And, you just say, I was thinking about you on Tuesday and thought about, eating ice cream together. And, DCS or CPS will come down on you if you say, I can't wait for you to come home, or I'm getting your bedroom ready, or any of that kind of stuff. So you got to be really careful, but you can write them letters that you can say for when they do come home. Help the parents stay focused on the resolution of the case and help them understand their relationship with providers, that they should be courteous, but they really cannot trust any of them. You can't trust any state-funded providers because they're paid for by the state. So you want to document everything they do, which leads us to the next one, which is number 3, documentation. Help parents create and keep their timelines in order. Help parents identify and list all resources that they need for court, which is records, witnesses, provider evaluations, reports, classes, evaluations, the dates they did, everything in their report on it. I have even in cases, so DCS files a court report, CASA files a court report. I have filed parents' court reports before. So yes, record. There are, as we get further into this, we want the parents to start filing their own court reports. Here's for instance, I've got one, a case has been pending almost a year, and DCS has made their very first home visit. So, to file a court report by the parents to say, for the first time, DCS made a phone call for a visit. Now, also in keeping track, so file folders, and a lot of times I'll have a new client, a new family come in to see me, and I'll walk in the room and I'll see just a stack of papers that they've got piled up on the desk, and I walk into the other room and I get a bunch of these. Okay, these manila file folders are like dirt cheap, and they're one of the most important things that you can have. So you can use these tabs and you can create folders for court records, DCS records, PERM plans, foster care review, income and housing, classes and participation, so that they can keep everything organized. And then you can get these bigger like folders. This is a manila one, expanding one, but you can also get the brown expanding folders. And then you can keep those in some organized fashion, which helps when they talk to an attorney. Get one for witnesses. Start identifying who the witnesses would be. Also, all right, so number 4 is cease at any time. Thank you, Joy, for doing that. The relationship between the advocate and the parent can end at any time. If at any time the advocate or the parent feels that the relationship is not assisting them, they can terminate the relationship without question. At any time the advocate feels they're unproductive, abused, taken advantage of by the parent, they can stop with no questions asked. And then at the end of that, any notes taken are strictly confidential. And at the termination of the relationship, they can be turned over to the parents, or they can be turned over to a family forward administrator, or they can be destroyed. Okay, again, very, very, very important that this relationship is intended to do good and no harm, right? So, and I'm just going to lay this out there. For instance, we have a parent with an addiction problem that cannot be successfully addressed in an informal setting. And there are times, and again, I'm going to say, oh gosh, Evelyn, I am so sorry. I am so sorry. But anyway, so they need to, I'm sorry. I'm reading some comments and looking at them and then trying to go back to my notes here. So let's say it's an addiction problem and the parent just cannot recover and they keep relapsing. It may be a time for an advocate at some point to say, I can't do anymore, okay? But those notes should be absolutely destroyed. They are not case notes, they're private notes. Destroy them. Compensation, an advocate is not going to be paid for providing their time and support without compensation. And if you can act as an advocate, if you're working with one parent, you're probably just talking about a couple hours a week, maybe 3 hours a week. There might be a time that they want you to be on a phone at a meeting or a DCS presence in their house. It is not a huge time factor that it's involved. If the parent or someone in their behalf wishes to provide some compensation to the advocate, it should only be done with our approval. And likewise, the parents not to request or receive any compensation from the advocate without approval. And, some token support, taking them out for coffee, or, giving them a gift card to buy lunch, or a small gift card to buy some type of craft or gift for their child as they're going to visitation is fine. I would say if it's under $25, it's probably not a problem, but we want to make sure that this is not compensation related. Any compensation should be documented as part of the notes of the advocate. Religious activities. The FFP is not in and of itself a religious organization. Any activities that you do together, such as Bible studies, reading, scripture reading, should only be done with the consent of both parties. I'm not going to discourage it. As you know, we have a family forward prayer group, and we are constantly sharing scriptural things there, but this is not the sole intent. So I just want you to just remember that. Okay, so we are at 45 minutes. I'm going to conclude because I want to get this uploaded as well. Please share this. I have actually screaming grandkids in the other room, so I've got to go be warrior grandmother in here and get everybody calmed back down. But I love you all. Hang in there. We are working, and just know that there are several things going on that I can't tell you about at this time, but I'm working on them. All right, see you later. Bye-bye.